Nisam Bulavinaka, and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind. I'm Louise, and I'm hosting our episode this week. Just for today, lovely to have your company. And we have the pleasure also of the company of women from different faiths. And this is with us, they are with us to discuss and address the issue of violence against women in the country. Now, we have from the NGO, House of Sarah, representing the Christian faith, Tupovere, a warm welcome to you.
Bulavinaka. Thank you, Louise.
Bulavinaka. And we have from the religion, the Hindu faith, we have Anjana Maharaj. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Louise, for calling us today.
You're most welcome. And from the religion of Islam, Fiji Women's Muslim League, Mrs. Anjuman Qayyum. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Very blessed to have us here this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Now, I didn't mention that Anjana is from the Nausori Multicultural Center. Okay, so violence against women is serious and has devastating effects on the lives of women, children, and families, and even at times ends in fatality. Around 72% of women, I believe, around the country face some form of violence in their lifetime, mostly from their intimate partners. Now, the instances of domestic violence-related homicides and suicides are a reality. Too many women are being killed in their homes or abused. But I believe you all not long ago met to discuss the issue of violence against women. So what was the main reason behind having this meeting where women of different faiths came together to discuss violence against women?
Yeah. Thank you, Louise. From House of Sarah, we reach out to women of faith in other communities precisely for the reason that there's a need to come together, we felt, to address this increasing rates of occurrence of violence. And in addition to the statistics you just quoted, we hear from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions when they released the data between 1st of January to 31st of December last year on sexual offenses. There's about 444 cases in the country, and of this number of cases, there are 300 just on rape alone. And the youngest victims in our country is a 1 year, 10-month-old baby and a 1 year, 11-month-old babies. The offenders were the father and the grandfather. So we are so concerned about the incidence of abuse and violence in our country and affecting even babies, that we thought there is a need for women of different faiths to come together and dialogue and have a space where we can address what are some of the things we can do together. And that is why we reach out, and we hope to get, we had hoped to get 50 women, but 44 turned up on that day. And we were very encouraged by the response from the Muslim community, the Hindu community, and we planned together to do things on 16 days of activism this year, which is usually marked between November 25th and December 10th. But there's also suggestions of other things we could do together at that first meeting.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you, Tupo. I mean, it's so good to see that women are, just doing this, showing unity to the rest of the country, that we can come together. But Anjana, what did you feel during the meeting? What did you learn from the meeting? And what did you manage to, discuss?
We learned a lot of things from this meeting. It's like when we come together, like different faiths, when we were together at that place, we came to know that every woman feels the same thing. By being in that meeting, we came to know that we really need to do something about it together. Like alone, we can't do anything. We have to be together and then do such things. We are really grateful for such kind of workshops.
Yes.
From House of Sarah. It gave us a great platform to know the real meaning of women being abused.
Yes. Okay, so we go to Anjuman now. Anjuman, what did you have to discuss in the meeting? What did you think about this meeting of different women of different faiths coming together?
Thank you, Louise. Getting together in that meeting that day was an eye-opener for us women, especially from the Fiji Muslim Women's League. As a very, we as a whole, all faith, we believe that we don't talk about these things at home. But attending that meeting, we were aware that we are about to be venturing in the awareness of this kind of meetings to be held all along. And what we learned from there, that all our interfaith, all our faith leaders should get together and talk on this topic. First we start from home, then we go to groups, then we go to the society as a whole. And there we can give awareness to the public. At home, we don't talk about violence, we don't talk about sex being a taboo word. So if we don't talk in the family as a whole, or as a small, unity in the family, or this close-knit family on the dinner table, then our children won't be aware of it. And when they see movies, when they read books, then they want to try, because they don't know what is the aftermath of violating that small person. As my friend Tupau has said, that our victim, the latest victim, is such a young age, such a minor, and our society as a whole being educated, but these topics, we don't talk about it. We are supposed to be running workshops, we're supposed to be collecting people of all faith together. As a whole, we all belong to one family, but we differentiate, we divide and we rule. Our leaders should get together and give awareness to the public as a large for this very sensitive issue which we have in our country right now. Thank you very much, Luis.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. We'll get back to that. I mean, creating awareness, the taboo of talking about what you just said. But for Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. And we've got a wonderful guest in the studio with us from the NGO House of Sarah, representing the Christian faith, Tupou Vere. And we also have from the religion of Islam, Fiji Women's Muslim League, Mrs. Anjuman Qayyum. And also we've got Anjana with us from the Nausori Multicultural Center. Now, I found it very interesting that Anjuman mentioned, how the topic of abuse and all this is sort of taboo, and you may also be relating it to religion. So Tupou, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, in our religious teachings, this we are taught about being there needs to be justice in the community, or to look out for each other, that everybody is equal. We also need to live in peace with one another. And when there's violence and abuse, you are robbing a person of that peace. And also respect for the dignity of a person. And each one of us has an innate dignity. And when you violate or abuse a person, you are robbing again that person's dignity. So we in our faith communities, common amongst our faith communities are these principles, and it's very important that we bring to the fore, to the open, these principles and emphasize this in our faith communities. And unfortunately, there's that silence. There's that belief, widespread belief, that violence is your lot in a married situation. You know that it's part of being married to be hit or to be beaten, which is not true, and it directly contradicts those principles of faith that the Muslim community, the Hindu community, and the
Yes.
Christian community has. You know, of
Exactly.
person.
It's like in religion, somehow, there's that ideology where women are supposed to submit to their husbands. So, even to the extent of being told to endure domestic violence in the name of God. And like you just said, I mean, it's not right.
No.
It's
No.
not right.
And not at all. And in Christian teachings, for example, we both men and women were created in God's image. And that's that notion of equality right there, that men and women are created in God's image. It's not only men.
Yes.
Therefore, again, going back, when you abusing or beating a woman or someone else, you are not being just towards that person. You are robbing the dignity of that person.
Yes.
And that's not in line with all our teachings, in our faith communities.
That's exactly right. I mean, good morals. Everyone knows to respect your parents, and there's a clear difference between right or wrong. So, I mean, I don't think there should be people, creating something out of religion, like what I said, about being submissive to your husband, and they just take it in their hands to be, beat them up, and they don't, like if you don't want to do something, a woman doesn't want to do something. So from the Hindu faith, how do you find out about your women? Do they go through the same thing, abuse as well?
Oh yeah, they go through a lot of abuse. But at times the women, they don't want to discuss such things. They don't find, should I say, going against their husbands. Like whenever they do that, it's like they are losing the respect of the family. They're always told. It's like, I guess we women, we believe that we need to respect our husbands and just go through whatever they do. We just have to bear it. And even families, they don't want to listen. Like with our Hindu society, it happens a lot of time. Like we don't respect women. Though our religion says we put women in a higher position, but when it comes to reality, it doesn't happen in homes. We are neglected by our families. Once you get married, you just go through whatever you can do to make your marriage a success.
Like you don't want to be feeling like, oh, I'm married and I'm suffering. You don't want your family to know.
No.
So I suppose that creates, the silent culture.
Yes, it's a silent culture. Because whenever you, hardly ever people go to their fathers and say that we have been abused in our culture. We only speak to our mothers. But what will our mothers do? Because they have gone through the same thing.
Exactly.
Yes. That's what they tell us. See, this is what happens in marriages. You have to make your marriage successful. We have done this. You can do that too.
And
But
even if it's domestic violence.
even if it's domestic violence. But, well, there are some families who come up, who do that, who support their daughters,
Yes.
their daughter-in-laws.
Yeah, okay.
But there are very few of them.
Very few.
Very few.
Well, that's very nice to know. Thank you so much, Anjana.
you.
And we'll now talk to our friend here, Anjuman. So coming from the side of Islam, do you have the sort of the same idea of women, just being in the house and, looking after the food and cleaning the house? Well, I suppose, that's okay if your husband treats you well. But so what would you have to say?
Yeah, thank you, Louis. Islamic point of view, our Quran clearly says that men and women are equal. Men, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, never touch your women. But how many of us read the Quran and interpret it right? Because they interpret it to fit themselves, to fit that status, and to spread in such a way to fit the man of the society. a saying goes, a man can marry 4 women, because during that time, yes,
It's
he
the
could-
context of the
context
time.
of the time,
Yes.
right? But nowadays, it's just that when my friend Anjana was saying that if you get married and you go to your in-laws' place or your husband's place, and you are to follow unless you die, don't speak. If you speak, you are the bad person, right? So here it's a norm, and if you speak, you are the bad one. If your husband touches you, and you speak your mind, you are the bad one. So a few of us speak out, and if you speak out in the Islamic community, you are stigmatized, right? And we don't want that. So yes, now it has, our learned society, our educated women have come up, but us 20 women or 30 women of the Islamic society come up cannot correct 100 plus families out there, because when you are married to a family, you are the you are the family yourself.
belong to
to
them.
the family, and if you say a word, it goes to the whole family. So you are spoiling the whole family by reporting what you are going through in the house.
Okay.
So
well,
you keep your
Anjum-
mouth shut. Yeah.
Anjuman, I'm very sorry, we just run out of time, but we'll be back to touch on that topic again soon on Speak Your Mind on your only classic hits radio station, Gold FM. This is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Thank you a lot for your company. And we have our guest in the studio. Very fiery discussion we've got here with the women of different faiths. But I'm sorry to cut you off before that, Anjuman. And we were just talking about how women in society, have to be silent, like how you were explaining from the Islamic point of view. So you can continue from there.
Yes, our Quran, our holy book does not say women to be silent. We are supposed to be speaking our mind, but our culture, when you mix religion and culture together, then the women are being told to be submissive and to not to speak their mind. If you speak your mind, you are the bad person in the society. So we are supposed to read and interpret in the right way, which our elders are supposed to teach us to do so. But sometimes our elders lack that ability, or they want to control their chair, not to say what the Quran says.
Like you said, interpreting it in their own way.
Their own way. But in Islam, women are supposed to be equal to men, in the sense that you love your wife. You spend family time with your wife. You spend family time with your children. You talk to them as a norm. You discuss everything on the table with them. Not with your parents. You should be with your wife, with your children. But in a society, as example, Fiji, there's hardly family time in the country. We spend more time with men. Folks spend more time with men, and the women are stay at home. They don't know what's happening outside their world. When folks come back home, they are being tortured, they are being violated with their rights. The children have no love from the father, and if those children have that trust in their own father, their own uncle, and their own siblings, then if for example a day comes, that same man they have so much pride in comes and like insults them, abuses them violently, or sexually abuse them, how can you have trust in your own family if you don't know your culture and your religion, where they stand for?
Yes, because to me, in my view, it's normal. I think it's a good thing when you're not happy in your marriage and you tell your partner, no, I'm not happy. Yeah.
Yes.
And then, okay, what are you not happy about? And just discuss it and solve it right there and then.
If you speak your mind, you are the bad person.
Okay. All right. So, to Po, how do you think that this mindset of women enduring domestic violence, whether it be emotional abuse as well, because that comes into it too. I mean, if you're emotionally abused, always being put down. So, how do you think that this mindset can be changed?
Yeah. One of the program that House of Sarah is about to launch into is looking at how to change people's knowledge about violence, change their attitudes and values, and to reinforce the values that I talked about earlier. To respect one another, that there should be justice in the way we treat people, whether they be man or woman, elderly or young, that we are being fair, that we respect their human rights, that we also respect the dignity of a person and ensure there's peace in society. And so we'd like to encourage that attitudes through this program, and also changing their values. Hopefully, when changing those attitudes and values, it will lead to new behavior towards each other, towards how we view one another. And we started testing out this program in Lami, in Matatai, in an Anglican community in the month of October and November. And we brought men and women, youths, and we sat and talked about this is what violence is happening. This is how we need to view one another as men and women. And that led to a lot of conversation, and we heard from the men who say, and what I was doing was wrong. It's been wrong all along. At home, I'm the lord of the house. I decide what goes, and my wife and children, they just have to take their cue from me. And when we talked about this kind of attitude, if you treat your wife and children with justice and peace and respect their dignity, this shouldn't be happening.
It'll be a strong, healthy family.
It'll be a strong, healthy family. And we had a grandmother who came at the end of the workshop and said, I wish I had gone through this session much earlier in life, so I can tell my sons and my grandsons that what they're doing in their home is not right, that they should change them. So it's addressing those things to stop violence from occurring.
Yes.
And that's a primary prevention approach to ending violence against women, Louise. So we need a lot more of that taking place in our community. Yes, there's work on improving services out there, improving response from the police and the Ministry of Health and the schools, but we need to encourage more respectful behavior in schools, in our curriculum. And in our first meeting on January 29th, we talked about that. The women raised that suggestion, the need to make submission to Ministry of Education, for example, to encourage respectful relationship in schools, and start with kids, and bring it up to teenagers, so that later on in their adult life, this is built in, this is strengthened, and
Yes.
they're socialized into that kind of behavior.
That's very good. So open discussion between men and women is always the way to go. And we need the men's support as well.
Oh, yes.
Yes, very much so.
Because they also need to be part of this transformation in our community. We cannot just be addressing the women alone. We need this to address the reduction or the elimination of violence against women. We need everybody on board.
Okay.
Men, women, youths.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be back shortly on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Speak your mind. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. And our guest in the studio from the NGO House of Sarah, we have Tupo Vere, and we have from the Hindu faith, and this is from the Nosori Multicultural Center, Anjana, and also from the religion of Islam, the Fiji Women's Muslim League, Mrs. Anjuman Kayyum. Now, we'll just continue with Anjana. Now, the same question that I posed to our friend here, Tupo. How do you think that this mindset of women enduring domestic violence, whether it be emotional abuse as well, can be changed?
As Madam Tupo said, we need to have a lot of workshops with men as well, and especially with this younger generation, like our young boys and girls. When we say at home that we have equal rights, Like women have equal rights than men. Who respects that? No one. It's only women who is talking that we have equal rights. It's just a saying which goes. But nobody believes that. Not at home, not even outside. When you go out working, women are discriminated. Like at times it happens, some places.
Mm-hmm.
If we go through these lots of workshops, if we educate our young generation, if our mothers change, if we change as women, then we can change our household. We need to change the mindset we have about ourselves. Whenever I speak to women, I always ask them, how are you? They smile and they say, oh, everything's fine. They never ever tell you what's happening in their houses. They never want to discuss the things which they go through. Violence, no women goes through violence. Whenever they talk, they are happily married. They
So they're
want
just
to
pretending.
show.
They're pretending.
They pretend. I don't know if I mean, they have to learn through these workshops that if they are not going to say that they are going through this abuse, through this violence, how will the other person know? Like, we have to take these workshops to the rural areas. We have to do a lot of outreach program on this. We have to educate these rural women about their rights, about this violence. We have to tell them that this is not right. You are not a doormat, I would say.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, you are not a doormat. You look after the house, you do the housework. A man goes out working and a woman leaves with him to work. But when they come back, man goes and rests or goes and watch the TV. What does the woman do? We start cooking. We put the dinner on time on the table. But though, we did nothing. You know, if the food is not good, we are told. But that man doesn't understand that my wife went to work as well
Exactly.
with me, right? We look after the kids. Kids come from school. We are helping them with their homeworks. What does the man do? They go out, sitting with their friends, having grog sessions. If you are doing that, when are you spending time with your family? You have a family. You have to spend time with your family. Your daughter needs to trust you. You need to sit down with your daughter and talk to her.
It's like love, just
Yes.
showing love, a hug, just
Yes,
grab the person,
maybe
you feel
asking.
secure.
Time.
Time.
Maybe asking your kids how was their day at school so that they feel confident enough to come and tell that somebody has been abusing them or somebody has been doing something wrong to them. We always see our fathers as strong people. We know they can protect us. But fathers have to show their daughters and to their wives that I'm there to protect you, not to abuse you.
That's right.
Ah.
And you have to be explaining to your children the reality.
The
I mean,
reality.
there are wolves out there, sorry to say, but, you need to
They have
make your
to.
children aware, if something's happening, that's not right,
Yeah, we have to have those dialogues as well. Like, as Anjuman said, there are few words which are taboo in our families. Like, it shouldn't be. It was okay when it was okay. Right now, it's not okay. We need to tell our daughters what is right, what is wrong, even to our sons as well. Maybe we have to educate our sons as well that this is not right. You shouldn't do this to any other girl or any other woman or to your daughters, to your sisters, right?
Very
We have to educate both of our children. If we raise our kids good, we'll get rid of this problem of rape and violence against women.
Well, at least we can try our best.
We can try our
yes.
best.
Anjuman?
Thank you, Louis. As she has said that we have to educate our children, but educating our children comes from all our faiths get together and we write a submission to the Ministry of Health to put this in the curriculum from day one as a basics. Then only our children, both girls and boys, will learn from childhood. That's so. This thing is not wrong. You are violating somebody's peace, no, and that stigma stays till the end. So unless and until it comes in the curriculum, it's around the world. But at least we can make it less through the curriculum. If Ministry of Health goes through schools and all our interfaiths get together and we give awareness workshops If, for example, we run a festival and we call all faith groups together, and then we can say we believe into one God, and if one is hurt, everybody in the family is hurt. Might as well thinking about the aftermath of violation or sexual abuse or rape. We teach them before that, how much money do we spend on victims? How much money do we spend on the person who has been violated? No? After that, how much have we spent before the incident has occurred? Have you thought about it?
Prevention is
Prevention is
better
better than cure. So instead of just talking, we should have some actions. So the action starts with our Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, or we write, all our faith group, we get together and we inform our authorities that our children at this age are not educated. No? And then when they grow up, they don't have a mindset that thing they are doing it wrong. Because only our elite know what is right, what is wrong. Our people out there they doesn't know. They don't know. They think it's fun for them. They get drunk, they get intoxicated, and they want to try what they have seen. Or if it was a taboo word, let's do it. No? So who suffers? The victim. And when we spend so much for the victim, we haven't educated our people who have been doing it. So why not we go to the grassroots first, instead of spending money later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anjuman. We'll be back soon on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. This is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits, your only classic hits radio station in Fiji. Thank you so much for your time. We continue with our live radio talkback, but we do have the delayed coverage shown on FBC TV. I hope you're enjoying the discussion, and we've got these lovely ladies here telling us, what they know from experience about domestic violence and all that. So why do you think that the faith community have to get together to address this issue, to Poe?
Thank you, Louise. One of the major reasons we believe that the faith communities should really make concrete and tangible moves in addressing this problem in our country is because within the faith communities itself, it has these principles that I alluded to earlier. The principle of justice, peace, and dignity. And we need to reinforce that because there's a lot of wrong messages going out there. Women, submit to your husband. Those kind and Ephesians is quoted out of context, and given and sort of given as justification. So
yes,
for violence and any kind of intolerable behavior against women. So
like if the woman doesn't listen, they get punished, and that's normal.
Yeah. So within our faith communities, there are those principles that we need to bring to the fore and re-emphasize to men, women, girls, boys, kindergarten, in Sunday school, for instance, in the Christian faith, is to reinforce these messages in all our curriculum, in all our schools, as you mentioned earlier, Anjuman. And secondly, just before handing over, I'd also like to say, Louis, in our communities, the faith exists right down to community level. And the people are interacting with the faith institutions a lot of times. For example, in the Christian faith, we'll have the Lotumasmasu on Wednesdays, for example. Every week we will have the youth probably meeting on Friday afternoons, and we will have the choir meeting on Tuesday, and on Sunday we will have all three, the Sunday school ministry, the men's group may be meeting. So in the faith community, members of the community are interacting a lot of times. So it's in those spaces where what are some of the things we can reinforce to stop violent behavior, to from happening. And there's when we have schools, we have primary and secondary schools in the country. The Muslim, the Sangam schools, and so forth.
They could have skits or something,
Yes, there's
showing
a
an
lot of
example of a
opportunity.
loving family, healthy family, and also showing an example of something that is not right and, abusive relationship which affects the children and the family as a whole. Yes, and I found it very interesting too that our friend here, Anjana, how you said we need to change now the mindset.
We need to change now.
Because we're getting influenced by our forefathers and our grandmothers and mothers who've been going through it, and then it's kind of become normal.
It's become normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so Anjuman, you'd like to say something?
Yes, thank you, Louis. As Sister Tubo has said, that they interact to the community level, and we should keep in mind as mothers and to our girls and the one who gets married to our daughters, that we are not giving somebody a cook, a servant, or a housewife. We are giving a person a partner.
Yes.
If we have a
Absolutely.
mindset, and if I have a son, I get married a girl from the other family, I should regard that person as my daughter,
Your own.
as my own, not
Not a
somebody,
servant.
not a servant, unpaid servant. I'm getting that person to be married to my son, and regard that person to satisfy my son at all times and satisfy my whole family at all times as well.
And not taking into account her happiness.
Her happiness.
And peace.
And peace. Nobody at the end of the day will ask that daughter-in-law in the house, how do you feel?
Oh.
No? So it should start from the home as well, that when we educate our children academically, religiously, we should also let them know what the society out there is. So we educate our children from day one when they start talking, that you are not somebody's unpaid servant. And our sons, that if you get married to that so-and-so daughter, she is not your unpaid servant.
She's
And
someone to treasure
Someone
and love.
to treasure
and, to
and
each other,
love.
both.
We are married for companionship. We marry for love. We marry for our own wants and needs, but not to go and do things for some other people. Because we have a mindset that when we get a person to the family, we are getting a house girl.
I've seen that
so
too.
and so,
Yes.
so and so mother-in-law will say that I could not complete the housework because I'm getting married my son soon. So she is coming as a housewife, even though she's working outside. So the mindset is there. So we have to clear this air and teach our children from starting that the society out there at large is not to be trusted. And if we educate them, they will know. But that is the curriculum will say our interfaith groups to get together and teach. But what we do, we divide and we rule. So thank you very much, Luis.
Thank you very much, Anjuman. So, before we end this Speak Your Mind live radio talkback show, what would your message be to women and men? I'll start from Tupo, from, your side.
I would just like to reinstate again that our faith, in our faith exists those very important principles that I talked about constantly throughout this session, Louise. And then I think we need to always remind ourselves that young girls, young men, boys growing up, each one of them has inherent dignity. We need to be peaceful towards one another and treat them with justice. Treat them as worthy of their own selves. And if we remember and constantly remind ourselves of this, we will not lift our hand or to harm that person, harm that young girl or that boy, and in later part of their life, in marriage situation even. So
Yes,
just like
that's so true. Thank you very much, Tupo. We're just about finishing here, so we'll just have a very quick finishing off now. about, like you said, that's the message. And from Anjana, it's not going to be easy to be changing mindsets of people now, but you've got to try. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of all of you getting together. I mean, a shining example to the community, I must say. Anjana, just a quick message from you before we finish.
Well, we need to try to change the set minds, as Tupo has said. We need to start it from our homes. We need to educate our daughters and our sons, and we have to educate them what is between right and wrong. Maybe moral values have to be taught again.
Very right. Thank you very much, Anjana
Thank
from
you.
Nosori Multicultural Center. And Anjuman, very quickly, your very strong message now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Luis. So far, we have discussed at large everything what we had to, and out there in the society, the awareness is the most important factor that I would like to pass the message to our faith leaders to educate our society the most.
Yes, and I think that, your women from your different faiths should be encouraged to approach the leaders of the community.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much, Luis.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, House of Sarah. That's the NGO, Tupo, Vinaka, and Anjana, and also from the Fiji Muslim Women's League, Anjuman. Vinaka Vakalevu.
Thank you very much.
Nakubali.
Well, that's it for Speak Your Mind on Gold FM for now. We'll have more next week. Take care. Nisa Modemanda.